Welcome, everyone. My name is Zach Freeling. I'm the DIA Studio Coordinator. Thank you for joining us on this lovely Friday afternoon for our chat with muralist Royal Dog, who's out in Grand Rapids right now painting a mural. We're going to be looking at a bit of his work today, talking about some of his work, his murals all over the country, all over the world. And we'll be chatting with him a little bit later at about 4:20, 4:30. But first, we're going to speak with Rebecca Reid, who is the project coordinator for this mural in Grand Rapids. Hi, Rebecca. How's it going?
Hi, Zach. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for joining us. And you're in Grand Rapids now, correct?
Yes, I am. I am coming to you live straight from the Hops and Flats building.
That's great, which is actually the building that he is probably painting right now, correct?
Yes, it is. He's out there working.
Right. That's great. And we've got a slideshow here, so let's take a look at that. And this is the building where you are in right now. Are you in one of these windows by chance?
No, I'm on the bottom floor, so that's quite a few feet up in the air.
Okay, less exciting, but I guess that's easier for setting up. But this is we have a webcam set up with a time lapse going, which we'll be looking at that a bit later. But this is from just earlier today. There he is up on the lift working on this mural. It's coming along quite well. When did he start working on this? It was just a few days ago, right?
A little over a week ago now. He first arrived in Grand Rapids from LA on May 23rd, and he started the next day, May 24th.
Wow. So that's quite a bit of progress.
Yes, he works pretty fast.
That's great. And just a little bit of insight about the project. Grand Rapids, which is really becoming known in the past decade or so for its art scene with Art Prize and its high number of public artwork outdoors. So this isn't quite a feather in its cap, this photorealistic mural from Royal Dog, who's a graffiti writer and graffiti artist from Seoul, South Korea. He has work all over the world. We're going to look at a map a bit later and some of the other images. And this is his second piece in Michigan. He has one in Lansing that was done in 2019 as part of the Below the Stacks Mural Festival. And this photo here, it's just so amazing seeing the scale. You see these things sometimes on your computer screen or on your phone and don't realize, just how huge they are.
A fun little story, if I may, on this painting. I believe the hibiscus flower, if it's in the right ear, it means the woman is single, and in the left, it means they're married. So Chris, before he married his wife, made this beautiful painting of her with the flower in the left ear, meaning that she's married, but they weren't married yet. So this is how he proposed to her.
Oh, wow. That's a pretty incredible story.
Yeah. High bar to set.
Yeah, geez. That's great. All right. And this is this work ties into the Sister Cities initiative between Grand Rapids and the Gangnam District in South Korea, correct?
Yes, that agreement was just established back in September of 2021. And it was just perfect timing that happened while we were in the process of working on this project to bring Chris here. Since he's from South Korea, and to create a painting of an Asian woman, it just all kind of fit together very well.
That's great. And can you say a bit more about how he got involved with this project, where you discovered him or first saw his work, how he got wrapped up in this Grand Rapids project?
Yeah, so the owner of Hops and Flats was thinking of, what we can do to be good community contributors. And, we had this big space on the outside of the building that we could fill. And David Vanderklok, our art consultant, happens to work in Lansing as well, and worked with the people that helped put up the mural behind me that is in Lansing. So he thought, hey, why don't we bring in this artist into Grand Rapids? It's going to work out perfectly with the new Sister Cities partnership. So that's kind of how this all started, just with the mural in Lansing, and just this idea to, give a beautiful gift to the city of Grand Rapids, since it is such a huge art hub, the Sister Cities partnership. And then why not bring Chris here in May, which happens to be Asian Pacific American Heritage Month as well.
Right, and that's a good point too. I should mention that this is part of our Asian Pacific Heritage Month programming here at the DIA, wrapping up a very busy month with a lot of events and a lot of programs. And this is a pretty nice way to wrap things up, I think. Let's take a look at. So as you said, the Hops and Flat building. So this is the outside of the building again with the blank wall there, as it looked just a week ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
And then his sketch starting to take shape, starting to form, and a little bit more progress. Can you say a little bit more about the design? Did he come to this with the idea fully formed? Was there any input, any back and forth, or did the owners of the building just kind of give him, you know, free reign to do as he wished?
It was a little bit of both. The sponsor of the project did want an Asian woman in the traditional Korean hanbok, which is what he's known for, that traditional dress in his paintings, and then just adorned with hibiscus flowers. Those were really the only criteria we gave him. Color scheme, the pose, the face of the woman, that was all up to him.
Oh,
so
great.
It's a big surprise to us as well on what the finished product will look like.
That's great. What's the reaction been like from the public, from the Grand Rapids citizens?
It has been a huge, overwhelming response. The whole entire city of Grand Rapids is excited to see this mural. There's people, stopping by every single day on the street, just watching him work, asking him questions. It seems everyone is interested and just absolutely amazed at the scale, first of all, and just the photorealism of the painting as well.
Yeah, I bet. And it's been, pretty great weather for him, and I suspect for spectators too.
Mm-hmm. And it rained a little bit the first couple days, but he was still out there working anyway.
Yeah, we saw in this photo here from just yesterday that he's out there with an umbrella, which probably serves multi-purposes, because I'm sure while it is, somewhat cool, I'm sure it gets it gets pretty hot up there.
Yeah.
Being right in the sun. Is he mostly up there all day? Do you know what kind of hours he's putting in?
He usually is there from about 9 to 5. He's been working a little bit later this week till about 9. But usually, working hours, we can see him out there.
Gotcha. And we should point out too, for anyone that isn't familiar with his work, these murals are all done with just spray paint, which to me is so fascinating. I've never really worked with spray paint before, but just being able to get these, such large photorealistic details using just a can of spray paint, it's really quite impressive. Out of his work, so it sounds like the Lansing project where you first became aware of his work?
Yes, that's where I first saw his work, is the Lansing mural. And then when I became involved in this project, I did a little more digging, a little more research, and I'm just blown away by what he can do with, like you said, a couple of cans of spray, well, a little more than a couple of cans of spray paint, but especially on such a large scale, because, your perspective is so skewed close up on the wall. And then to have something, a finished product like this, it's incredible.
That's one thing I definitely want to ask him when he joins us in a few is, what his process is like. I've seen some artists, we've got quite a few murals in Detroit, quite a few, amazing, talented, realistic portrait muralists. And, you see them in progress using grids or projectors or, other techniques. But with his, it seems to be mostly, he's just out there with the blank wall, which is really interesting. You mentioned more than a few cans of spray paint as project coordinator. Is that one of your, was that one of your duties of providing supplies for him?
He uses a very specific spray paint. It's the outside says 94. I'm not sure what the exact name of it is, but my art consultant, David Vanderklock's the one that procured all of his specific paint that he required. He usually brings it himself, but we just wanted to make sure that he had all of his supplies here. There were no shipping issues or anything like that.
You said you dug around in his work a little bit. I mean, I definitely also have been, combing through his Instagram and his great website. Do you have any favorite pieces that jump out to you?
I really like the Rihanna one. Rihanna fan. And then Also, the one of his wife with the hibiscus flower is a favorite of mine as well,
Yeah,
just because of the story behind it. It's very romantic.
And they're all, I mean, they're all quite beautiful, but that is definitely such a nice story that, you know, it's just a fun fact. There's pieces like that in the museum that, you know, once you learn a little story or tidbit about them, you just know, like, oh, I'm going to tell this story to everyone that I see this painting with for forever.
Exactly. And if I was a Lakers fan, probably the Lakers ones, but.
Right, which the Lakers ones he was on, they were featured on the Jimmy Kimmel show recently.
Yes, they were.
Yeah. We're going to watch a short time-lapse video now showing the process here, just for about a minute or so. There we go. Yeah, so this was just so interesting seeing him work from the start. I can see, though, he's sort of got it measured out, and, you know, the rough outline there, the way you might with a drawing, but it being so large is just so impressive to really have that, you know, strong foundation, and, you know, not getting it skewed while you're at a wall looking up. And yeah, it's really, really impressive. And it's interesting too, it's almost done the same way as a drawing, you know, starting with the lighter colors like you might with a pencil sketch before painting.
Yeah, and the process started the same way on the wall at Hobson with a couple of markings to measure it out, the sketch, and then he started painting.
That's great. Yeah, it's just pretty unreal. Even watching him start from the beginning and seeing it all, it still doesn't quite seem real. We've got a question from Sharon here. How about Royal himself? Which work is one of his most favorites? Do you have that insight at all? If he has any, we can ask him shortly, but do you know if he has any favorites? I imagine the one of his wife is probably pretty high up there.
Yeah, I'm not sure what his favorites are. His wife is featured in a few of his murals, so that's definitely something we can ask him.
Nice. One thing I love about his work too, I love that, you know, the figures are so, you know, photorealistic, as we keep saying, but also I love that he's not afraid to keep the backgrounds kind of loose and painterly and just sort of these kind of rough edges and rough textures, and that's a really great contrast. Really great different styles there. All right, so let's look at a few more things. Speaking of his murals all over the world, this is a great feature on his website, which we can share too. It's Royal with 2 Ys, dog.com. And this is a great feature I found on his website showing his mapped murals all over the world. And this is only even a small percentage of them. You can see 2020, they only have 60% mapped so far. And that was still 2 years ago. I imagine he's just done quite a bit. But this was a really fun tool to kind of zoom around and see, you know, what he has in Australia, what he has in Chicago, what he has in Indiana, you know, all over places you wouldn't have quite expected. So that, you know, this extra context kind of even makes it more amazing that he's in Grand Rapids. We've got a question here from Emily. It's interesting to see how his process is similar to drawing. I wonder how his process compares to other graffiti writers. That is a good question. So this is, again, the one that's in Lansing from the Stacks Mural Festival, which you have a nice print of right behind you there.
Yes,
which is a lovely poster.
Yeah, and this one we like to use kind of as an example of what ours may look like. The Asian woman in the traditional Korean dress adorned with flowers.
That's great. Yeah, it's really, really quite lovely. Great color scheme. And he's also got, we mentioned the Rihanna mural, the Lakers. That seems to be kind of an ongoing motif as well. Paintings of public figures and celebrities. This one of Michelle Obama in Chicago, which I'm sure people just love. It's really a lovely one. And then, yeah, the Lakers, that seems to be another recurring motif. Athletes, this Michael Jordan one, also in Chicago. And I liked too seeing how many of his, there were quite a few collaborations, which was interesting too, and not something you see from every street artist, graffiti artist, muralist, but, you know, being willing to work with other artists that might have similar styles or may have very different styles. And I love this, you know, kind of traditional, um, very realistic painting of the athletes, but then these other kind of more what you might see in terms of, or, you know, what you might think about of graffiti mixed in with it. It's a really nice combination. Again, the Rihanna one we talked about, which is also in Los Angeles. Let's see here. Emily is also asking, can you give cultural context to the dresses figures are typically wearing? That might be good info. Do you have any, can you add anything to that, Rebecca?
This is the traditional dress in Korea. It's called a hanbok, and it's typically worn for traditional weddings now. But I guess it would be the best way to describe it would be like the equivalent of the Japanese kimono, but the Korean dress.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I would imagine that the, you know, his fans and or even just anyone in South Korea must take great pride in seeing his work and, you know, these traditions and this imagery, you know, now all over the world and being so celebrated.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the reasons why we were interested in bringing him to Grand Rapids, since most of his works are recognized for multiculturalism, seeing community people and that in that traditional Korean dress, and which many people may not be that familiar with.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like music plays a big part in his work too. We saw Rihanna, I suppose, but also there's quite a few murals of rap artists, Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. here, which I thought were pretty great as well. It's kind of showing a different side of that, you know, different cultures he appreciates infusing with his artistry.
I believe hip hop is a big influence, and he's just very interested in hip hop music, dance.
Yeah, that's great. And we mentioned the Lakers mural here, which this was another photo of him working, of just seeing again that scale of just, you know, getting even just like the logo so perfect with spray paint that's, you know, as big as his torso. It's really impressive. Another comment here in the chat, or in the comments. This is such a powerful way to present the community across cultures, which is true. This is, you know, there's so much public art nowadays, and this is a really great, you know, great use of it. I think sharing that culture with the community. All right, I think we've got one more time lapse, and then Rebecca, do you think it's Chris gonna join us soon?
Yep, he should be here any minute. I'll go get
Okay,
him.
great. We will let this video play, and hopefully he'll be here when it's done.
Great,
Thank you.
thanks.
저는 지금 미국 캘리포니아에서 그래피티라는 장르의 그림을 그리고 있는 31살 심찬영. 한복 입은 사람들을 그리는 작업을 주로 하고 있고요. 즐겁게 살고 있습니다. 안동이라고 말씀을 해주셨을 때 저는 되게 시골을 생각을 했거든요. 되게 보수적이고 제 기억 속에 있는 안동도 옛날의 모습을 담고 있는 동네이기 때문에 그래피티라는 낯설고 특이한 외국의 또 젊은 사람들이 하는 그런 그림 스타일로 한국의 전통적인 것들을 그리는 그런 작업이잖아요. 그래서 두 가지 생각이 그렇게 들었던 것 같아요. 서 있는데 와서 정말 멋져요 뭐 이런 얘기를 하는 것도 들었어요. 근데 제가 정말 멋져요라는 말을 잘 안 하잖아요. 근데 아이들이니까 그런 표현을 하는 것도 되게 신기하고 굉장히 순수하게 너무 좋으니까 뭐 좋은 얘기 하는 거고 그런 게 기분이 되게 좋았던 것 같아요. 내가 뭘 좋아하는지를 표현을 그때그때 했기 때문에 저도 이렇게 특이한 그림을 그릴 수가 있고 내가 뭘 좋아하는지에 대해서 나한테 솔직했기 때문에 이런 결정을 할 수 있었다고 생각이 들어서 전부 다 아이들처럼 살면은 정말 좋지 않을까? 문화를 대하는 태도가 굉장히 어른스럽다고 많이 느꼈어요. 네덜란드에서 그림을 그리면서도 되게 재밌었지만 이 사람들이 나의 문화를 받아주는 태도, 그 사람들이 가지고 있는 문화를 나에게 주는 태도에 대해서 굉장히 감동을 많이 받았고요. 그만큼 네덜란드는 그렇게 성숙해 있고 그런 문화들이 많이 있는 게 자연스러운 나라니까. 문화라는 게 저는 약간 계란 같다라고 생각을 해요. 그러니까 겉에서 이제 보고 만족을 하는 경우도 있잖아요. 그러니까 계란에다 그림을 그려놓고 예쁘다 생각을 할 수도 있고 계란을 장식품으로 넣을 수도 있고 정말로 계란에 대해서 알게 되는 것은 이제 계란의 맛을 봤을 때라고 생각을 하거든요. 어떻게 그것을 바꾸려고 해도 계란이라는 사실은 바뀌지 않는 거. 그런 어른스러운 태도를 가지고 있는 사람들을 만나면서 이 사람들이 자기가 가진 색깔이 없어서가 아니라 더 조화로운 삶을 살고 있구나라는 생각을 나이를 먹으면서 더 많이 하게 되는 것 같아요. 그래서 그런 모습을 가진 문화를 전달하는 사람이 되야겠다라는 생각을 하고 있어요. 저는 지금 미국 캘리포니아에서 디라는 장르 그림을 그리고 있는 31살 심찬양 한복 입은 사람들을 그림을 잘 좋아하고 있고요. 즐겁게 살고 있습니다. 운동이라고 말씀을 해주셨을 때 저는 되게 시골을 생각을 했거든요. 되게 보수적이고 제 기억 속에 있는 안동도 옛날의 모습을 담고 있는 동네이기 때문에 그래피티라는 낯설고 특이한 외국의 또 젊은 사람들이 하는 그런 그림 스타일로 한국의 전통적인 것들을 그리는 그런 작업이잖아요. 그래서 두 가지 생각이 그렇게 들었던 것 같아요. 서 있는데 와서 정말 멋져요 뭐 이런 얘기를 하는 것도 들었어요. 근데 제가 정말 멋져요라는 말을 잘 안 하잖아요. 근데 아이들이니까 그런 표현을 하는 것도 되게 신기하고 굉장히 순수하게 너무 좋으니까 뭐 좋은 얘기 하는 거고 그런 게 기분이 되게 좋았던 것 같아요. 내가 뭘 좋아하는지를 표현을 그때그때 했기 때문에 저도 이렇게 특이한 그림을 그릴 수가 있고 내가 뭘 좋아하는지에 대해서 나한테 솔직했기 때문에 이런 결정을 할 수 있었다고 생각이 들어서 전부 다 아이들처럼 살면은 정말 좋지 않을까? 문화를 대하는 태도가 굉장히 어른스럽다고 많이 느꼈어요. 네덜란드에서 그림을 그리면서도 되게 재밌었지만 이 사람들이 나의 문화를 받아주는 태도, 그 사람들이 가지고 있는 문화를 나에게 주는 태도에 대해서 굉장히 감동을 많이 받았고요. 그만큼 네덜란드는 그렇게 성숙해 있고 그런 문화들이 많이 있는 게 자연스러운 나라니까. 문화라는 게 저는 그냥 계란 같다라고 생각하고 겉에서 이제 보고 만족을 하는 경우도 있고
부지런.
계란을 그림을 그리면서 계란을 장식품으로 넣을 수도 있고 정말로 계란에 대해서 알게 되는 것은 이제 계란의 맛을
Hello,
Hi.
how's it going?
Pretty good, thanks.
Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Zach Freeling. I'm the DIA, Detroit Institute of Arts Studio Coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for taking some time out of your painting to chat
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you for having me. Thanks.
Of course. Really loving your work. How are you liking Grand Rapids so far?
It's really good. People are nice, and weather was a little tricky, but I'm really enjoying it. People
Good.
are, I mean, this is really great hospitality.
Oh,
Me
good.
and my family is really enjoying time in Grand Rapids right now. Thank you.
That's good. I was going to ask if this was your first time in Michigan, but you painted a mural in Lansing 3 years ago, correct?
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, the one right behind you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So you're back. Great. Can you talk a bit about the image you're working on for the Grand Rapids piece? It sounds like you had kind of freedom to choose whatever you wanted. They had a pretty basic outline for you. Can you talk about that, or maybe your process of how you choose your imagery?
Yeah. So Roger, the owner of the building, he only asked me to paint Korean woman in Korean dress because he was serving in Korea as an army like a long time ago before I was born, maybe. And then that's actually what I usually do, and then that's what I wanted to paint actually. So yeah, this is he wanted me to paint the hibiscus flower at the back also. So I'm working on that too. I think it's just get along with the wall. So I love the color, and I really like to paint this wall right now.
That's great. When you're working on a design, what is that process like? Do you start with a sketch, a reference photograph?
I take photos, like I do the photo shoot like every year when I'm visiting Korea. And then I have like a bunch of photos that I wanted to paint in my cell phone right now. So I saw the wall and then I figure out which one is the best for the wall and pick the colors and then do the sketch. And yeah, that's the process.
Okay, interesting. So are there some models or figures that might reappear in different murals from time to time?
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, I thought this model and this photo is just go well with the wall. So I chose it.
Yeah, it looks really nice. That color, the orange of the flowers and the yellow with that rich kind of terracotta brick looks really nice. It looks like it gets a lot of really strong sunlight too. It's really nice there.
Yeah.
I read that you went to college for animation and then studied painting in Australia. At what point did you make the switch over to spray paint?
Actually, I picked up spray can when I was 16, I guess, when I was in art high school.
Okay.
Before I went to college for majoring animation. So I was doing it before I went to the college for animation. So and then I chose to be a full-time artist when I was in Australia. So it takes a little bit of time, but I was always painting with spray cans, and that was my favorite thing for a long time.
That's great. Can you talk a bit about, I'm just curious about this, a bit about your process. I've seen some of the time-lapse videos and the photos of the Grand Rapids wall. We have a lot of murals in Detroit, and, I've seen folks use projectors or using a grid to start out. What is your process for starting on something that large?
I usually go with grid, but a little different than other people does. Like I do a quick sketch first, and then I use the sketch as a grid. Like we call it lazy grid. So I take photo of the wall, and I do the little sketch, and then
Okay.
I take the photo of the sketch, and then I use it as a grid.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I think I've seen some Detroit artists do that. There's one muralist here, Sydney James, who does a really amazing.
Yeah. She's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Oh, great. Yeah. I know she'll do kind of a lot of like almost looks like just random symbols and just kind of almost nonsense, and then making
Yeah,
it graphic
we
with
call
that.
it do the grid. It's a similar to it. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's cool. Sydney, her work is great. There's so many great pieces, and she does a lot of great work around here.
She's really cool.
Yeah, that's great. Have you ever been to Detroit before?
Yeah, once. My
Okay.
close friend is living in Detroit right now, and then he's actually, I think he's visiting this Sunday. Yeah, and then yeah, it's a great city.
Cool.
My friend took me to like old factories or and big buildings that painted
Mm-hmm.
that are painted. So yeah, I think it was a great time. It was short time, like couple hours, but I really
Okay.
enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah, I think you'd like it here.
Yeah,
Partly because the mural scene here is really great. Sydney
yeah.
ran the Blackout Walls Festival over this last summer, where just a ton of great murals and some that are in similar styles, and also a lot of murals of musicians, which is one theme I've seen in your work a lot. A lot of murals of rappers, which is clearly a culture you're interested in.
Yeah.
I was wondering if there's any do you listen to music while you work? Is there any are there any artists you're hoping to paint a mural if you haven't yet?
I really like to paint those guys who are like this is about passion. I mean, I really love them, so it's out of my passion. I only paint the guys who I really like. So there are so many artists that I get inspired with, like Ice Cube, Snoop. I like to paint them, but I also want to work with them sometimes, and then yeah, that's like that's like one of the dreams that made me come to the States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw I saw your work on TV recently, the Lakers mural. Have you had any other feedback from any of these figures? The Rihanna mural, the Ice Cube mural, the Snoop mural.
Was
Do
that
you know if
come
they've
again?
seen these, or do you know if they've seen these or responded? Anyway.
No, not really. They yeah, some of those people mentioned about the mural when they were doing interviews and stuff, but there are so many artists that wanted to work with them, so they might be busy really. So
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for at the bottom, at the ground.
Well, I'm sure you're on your way. I'm sure it's only a matter of time.
Yeah.
Besides, and that's great. Those are all musicians that I grew up listening to and really love as well. Besides music, what are some visual artists that you're inspired by? What be they contemporary or throughout history?
When I talk about my favorite artist or an artist who I get inspired the most is I always talk about El Mac. He's he's a great artist in San Diego, I think, California area.
Okay.
Yeah, his style is crazy. I mean, I grew up seeing his work all the time, and then he found original style, and then it's just outstanding. It's crazy. If you don't know it, if you don't know him, you gotta search him, and then you're gonna love it. Nobody
Okay.
can deny it. Yeah.
Can you say that name again one time for us?
Elmac, ELMAC, Elmac.
Okay, from San Diego.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm not familiar. I'm gonna look that up after this as well. We had one question here from Tim in the comments, and we're not going to keep you too long here, but just a few questions. What's the life expectancy of one of these murals? And then they asked, will the artist have to come back when the mural needs touch-ups? Is that something you've been doing this for a while now? Yeah, how do they respond to the elements being outdoors? Like, do they ever need to be touched up, or are they pretty sealed pretty well? This is the spray paint pretty strong.
I don't know why he's asking this, but yeah, I feel like every painting that I made are like, I don't know, like almost like my children. So I hope that they're keep shining
Yeah.
at where they are right now, and then people think it's cool. I wanna do a touch up to help it more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I can. If that's like in Africa or somewhere, I can't do that. But if it's what I can do, I would love to do it.
Okay. But it sounds like they usually keep shining for a while.
Yeah.
Keep looking good. We had a question from Emily saying it seems like you always start with the face. Is there a specific reason for that?
Yeah, that's the face is like especially eyes is the window that people can read the emotion of the person, I think. So when I finish the face, I feel like I'm more confident. Then I feel like what do you say? Yeah. So I think the face part is the important, and then the hardest part. So I think I work on that first, and then anything else is just a matter of time, I guess. And then if the face, if I don't like the face when I paint, I don't want people to see it while I'm working it. So yeah, I want to finish the face first, and then chop chop.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's a question here from Sharon Dow saying, "Has Royal ever been into K-pop dance at one time? Is that something that you've dabbled in as well? It seems like you've done quite a few art forms and have quite a broad range of talents and styles here."
Like painting K-pop artists.
Yeah, or I guess anything relating to K-pop. It sounds like she's asking about.
I haven't got any chance for it yet, but yeah, I'm open to everything interesting. So yeah, K-pop is growing up really fast right now, and then that actually made me have like better opportunities and life,
Oh, really?
I guess. So it helped me a lot actually. So like BTS is helping me a lot actually. So
Oh, yeah.
I hope they are keep rocking, and then if I can do something for the culture, and then for the, for the culture, I would love to do anything for it. I'm open.
Yeah, and it does seem like, I just saw BTS. They were at the White House the other day. It seems like they're really, really blowing up, and I'm sure that that's a huge point of pride for the people of South Korea. And I would imagine
Super
too that
proud of
your
it.
work, the same way that you're, showcasing your talent, but also bringing in elements of the Korean culture with the all of the symbolism and the dresses and the culture has to be a big
I
point of
try.
pride for everyone.
Thanks.
Because it really is, really amazing work. And we want to let you get back out there soon. It's a pretty lovely day for painting, I imagine. It's nice and sunny, but not too hot.
It's pretty hot actually, but
Oh, is
yeah,
it?
it's good. Good weather. I mean, way better than a rainy day. So
Yeah, definitely.
good day to paint.
What do you have, or what are some things you have coming up next? We were looking at the map on your website earlier and just seeing, this trail of murals all over the world.
Mhm.
Do you have a place you're going to next, or how far out are these things planned? I imagine you probably have a few things coming up.
Let me see. I think it's August. I'm planning to go to Montana for a festival.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in mid-August. So stay tuned. And then I'm actually working on NFT stuffs right now with with a with an artist I really like. So I can't tell who he is, but
Oh, okay.
I think I'm gonna spend more time on that this year. So I'm not gonna travel that much that I used to do before all the COVID thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Montana is, I think, the main thing
Cool.
for now. After this,
Cool. That sounds great. One last thing too, we've seen how far along this mural has come in just the past week or so, and we know the unveiling is next Friday. So that's about 2 weeks. Is that a quick pace? Do you normally take longer on a mural, or what is the ideal amount of time to spend on a mural?
I mean the festivals usually like for a week. So I usually try to finish in a week. If the wall is really big, I spend like more couple days to finish it. But this wall is pretty big, and then the weather is a little giving me a hard time too. And then since I'm here for 3 weeks, I'm pretty relaxed, and then I'm not trying to push myself so hard. I just focus on the wall and then give it time, take it time to finish this. So it's taken, I think it's almost 10 days now. I try to finish this by this weekend, and then yeah, it's longer days than I usually work on walls. But I think I think it's going well.
Good.
So yeah.
Good. Well, it's really looking beautiful. Really excited to see the final product. I'm gonna have to make a road trip out and stop and see the Lansing one on the way. It's not too far from here. And hopefully we can have you back in Detroit sometime, either to paint a mural or look at some murals, or
I would love
have
to.
you
Yeah.
chatting with Sydney or something.
Yeah.
I
That'd be
think
great.
he'd like the art here, and I think he'd like all the music history and stuff as well. But we'll let you get back out there onto your lift and do some more painting and and we're gonna take a look at the time lapse video now and see some progress, and then we're gonna chat with Rebecca a little bit about some of the festivities coming up, and then we're gonna wrap it up. But thank you so much, Chris, for joining us. It was great chatting with you. I love your work. It's really impressive, really inspiring.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, guys. Yes.
Yeah. Thanks. Have a great rest of the day.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Welcome back, Rebecca.
Thank you.
What a nice, cool guy Chris is. That must be fun hanging out with him while
It
he's
is.
in between climbing up there.
He's a joy to work with, and he's so humble as well.
That's great. Yeah, it definitely seems very humble. I mean, his stuff is so crazy, and he just seems just regular, cool guy. We'll get to some of the events coming up. There was one other question here I wanted to ask you about. And we kind of covered this about how the artists were chosen to participate in this program. And it sounded basically like this was the building owner, correct? You guys were familiar with his work from Lansing and kind of brought him in specifically. So this was a situation where the owner of the building reached out to the one artist, to help embellish his property.
Yes, the owner was familiar with his work from the Lansing mural and his passion for Korea, since I think Chris did indicate that he served in Korea. So that mixed with his passion for the culture and the country just seemed like a perfect fit to bring Chris in to do the mural on the side of his building.
And that is such an interesting thing. I feel like it's happening more and more in the past decade or so, is building owners, realizing they have these public spaces and that they can enrich in the neighborhood, enrich in the city, help support artists, help tell stories, help, bring culture to the city in ways by using their building, which is really great.
Absolutely.
With that, let's get back to our slideshow here for a few minutes. Just wanted to share a couple other pieces really quick. This is from a mural, and speaking of all over the world, here's one from a mural in Israel that I believe was part of a festival. Here's one in Nova Scotia, which this one is just there's so much character in this one. It's great. And even, I think that with these, a lot of times the faces, like he said, he starts with the faces to kind of draw people in, and it gives it this kind of, humanizing effect. And it's easy to get lost in how photorealistic the faces are, but looking at the fabric, especially in these one, the shine of the satin and the folds, it's just really incredible.
Yes, you can almost feel that fabric.
So then we want to talk a bit about, so the unveiling is next Friday, right at about this time at 4 p.m.
It is.
Can you tell us a little bit about that and what else will be going on?
Yeah, so next Friday, June 10th from 4 to 10 p.m., right at Hobson Flats, where the mural is going to be our big unveiling street party. So this is where we will officially present the mural to the city of Grand Rapids. We'll be very dramatic with the curtain drop.
I was going to ask if you're doing curtain drop or ribbon cutting.
Curtain drop. And it'll be followed by a big celebration with a founder's beer tent that will feature the Royal Dog beer that was featured in their tap rooms in Detroit and here in Grand Rapids during the month of May. And that was a collab with Chris, a local Korean chef. And we created the Royal Dog beer, which is, it's described as like a pale American ale with hints of Asian pear and a little bit of kick, a little Korean chili pepper in there.
Ooh.
And Chris did the artwork for the tap handle.
Oh, wow.
So that will be featured at our street party along with some other Founders Beer favorites. We'll have food trucks, A&L Taco Truck, Around Baking Company, Beatty's Barbecue, an ice cream truck, Icebox Brand, and the Falafel Truck. We're also going to have live music. Dave Strumfield will be our opening act, followed by the Great Scott Band. And we'll have henna, tattoos, a bunch of other little goodies. So it will be a very fun celebration to honor the completion of this, historic piece of art in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, that is great. That's great about the beer too. I didn't realize it was at the Detroit Tap Room. And this is also not a part of, but also sort of coinciding with the Grand Rapids Asian Pacific Festival is happening the same weekend, right?
Yes, it is. That is the same weekend. That Asian Festival will be at Calder Plaza in Grand Rapids from June 10th to 11th. So if you have time to come out to both events, that would be great. It'll just be a big party weekend.
Yeah, that's great. That's in that Calder Plaza there. Seems like a great way to see, even more public art and some of the great stuff happening in Grand Rapids.
Absolutely.
Great. All right. Well, what I wanted to share too, there is, we shared Chris's website, but there's also a website specifically for this project, Royal Dog grmural.com, which I just threw into our other chat. If we get that second address up there as well, which has just all of this specific information about the unveiling and links to the events and some other fun information and fun facts. And yeah, it's definitely a great Instagram account to follow. Just so much amazing work and fun stuff going on all the time. So, all right. And with that, I think we're gonna wrap it up. We don't want to keep any longer, Rebecca, on this lovely sunny Friday. But thank you so much for spending some time with us and for helping coordinate this. Thank you to the Friends of Asian Arts and Culture and Sharon Dow and everyone at the DIA, and to Chris. This has been a great collaboration between many hands to talk about Chris's great work.
Yes, thank you so much for having us, and we hope to see everyone at our unveiling.
All right. Thank you, Rebecca. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.